To another episode of Live with Chef Heff. Today we're going to be making some kind of jambalaya with most or all of these ingredients. Haven't really figured out yet which ones we're going to use. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is cut up some vegetables, the peppers, the onions, and maybe cook the corn to cut that up too. And the tomatoes on the bottom of the kielbasa. So the first thing we're going to do is cook the corn. We're going to boil it first. Going to boil the water first. And when you cook corn, you should always put a little bit of sugar in it, in the water, to make it nice and sweet. So just a little handful or pinch of sugar. Put the water on high, let that boil, and then once it's done, we'll put the corn in for about 10 minutes. And while we're waiting for that, we're going to start to cut up the onions, tomatoes, and peppers. So while I'm waiting for the water to boil for the corn, I cut up in quarters a whole tray of cherry tomatoes. Now I'm going to cut up the onions and the peppers and still wait for the corn to boil. So as I'm crying from cutting the onions, the water started to boil, so I'm going to put the corn in and put it in for 10 minutes unshucked. Once I get all this shucking off, just drop it in. I'm going to use 3 pieces of corn for this, whatever this is going to be. This is very hard to do with one hand, just to let you know. And since these aren't shucked, I'm going to have to put the camera down for a second. Well, maybe not. Nice and easy. See that? One hand. Put that in there. Cook that for 10 minutes. And then we'll take it out. Now the onions are chopped up. We're going to start with the garlic. I'm going to use 2 or 3 cloves. Just to get some flavor in it. One of the easiest ways to get all the skin off of the garlic is to take a knife and just press it down till it cracks, and then it peels right off. Again, it's very hard to do with one hand, so I'm not going to do it. But that's how you do it. So right now the tomatoes are cut, the onions are cut, and the garlic is cut, and the corn is still cooking for another 3 minutes or so. Once that's done, I start to cook the peppers and then all the meats and stuff like that. Then we'll put it into the large pan and see what happens and cook the rice. I've never done anything like this before. This is not going off of any recipe. This is just purely in my head. So this is either going to be very good or a lost episode of Live with Chef Heff. The corn is cooked. I'm going to take them out right now. Put them someplace where they can drain all that nice stalking stuff that I never got off. Clean that off later. Let those drain, cool off a bit before you cut them up. Still have the peppers that I'm going to slice up. 3 peppers should do this. And then we'll get on to the actual pot stirring. So now that all the vegetables are cut up, what I'm going to do is start making this mix or whatever, again, whatever it's going to be. So I'm going to, in this large pot, put it at a low heat right now, medium heat right now, and pour some oil in it. I'm going to let it, heat up first before I pour the oil in it. So I'm going to pour the oil then the garlic in it, just to get it nice and brown and mixed up. Then I'll start pouring my vegetables in it. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to use a little bit of chicken broth in here and start to cook the chicken. Just get a nice flavor with it before it's nice and cooked, and then cut it up. I'm going to wind up putting everything in this pot. So let's start doing that when we can. So in the pan with the chicken broth, where I'm going to put the chicken in a minute, turn that on, put it on medium heat. I'm going to put some salt, some pepper, some chili powder, just a little bit, some onion powder, and some garlic powder. Put that all in, cook that up a little bit before I put the chicken in. This way I give the chicken a nice good flavor. And as this bowl pot is going, put a little oil in, see how hot it is. Still has a little ways to go before it's hot enough, before you start putting the garlic in. Want to get a nice sizzle when you put the garlic in. So we'll let that sit for a while, and then we'll start with the chicken. So some of the chicken is in the pot cooking, and while that's in, I'm going to go back to the big pot. It should be nice and hot enough. Pour some garlic in. Give that nice sizzle. Basically, you're just going to brown the garlic for a little bit. Mix it up a little bit. Not too long before you put the other stuff in. First thing I'm going to put in is the tomatoes. Should be a nice, good flavor with it. Actually, I'm going to put the onions in first. Just get them cooking. As you see, the garlic is get those good cooking. Reduce them down a little bit before you put the tomatoes in. So now that the garlic and the onions are cooking through, what I'm going to do is put the peppers in first. I know I said tomatoes, but we'll leave those for last. Just going to slide those in. I'll get the rest of them in a minute. Cook those up. Cook those for a little bit before you put the tomatoes in. And then you should have a nice start to a sauce or a paste or something. And as you see, the chickens are starting to cook. Flip them over to see they're nice and cooked on one side. Make sure they're at least somewhat cooked. They're going to go back into another pot and cook again, so they don't have to be fully cooked. So let me get the rest of the peppers in, and the tomatoes in the pot, and then we'll go on from there. So now that everything's reduced down nicely, what I'm going to do is put the tomatoes in, let these cook, build up a nice sauce, mix it up. I'm going to put the corn in right after this. Going to lower this to a low or a simmer. Let this start going as I start to cook all the meats and the rice. So let me do that right now, and I'll be right back. So all the vegetables are in the mix. The chicken is cooking good. So what I'm going to do is take these out, put them aside, and start cooking some more chicken. And then I'll start with the sausage. Put this on a simmer. You can cover it if you want to. Just keep it on a low heat until everything else goes in. So as I'm cooking the chicken and getting ready for to cook the sausage, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cook the rice inside the jambalaya mix with the vegetables and stuff like that. So basically what I'm going to do is put some water in here and 2 cups of rice. And I'm going to bring this to a boil We'll put this on high, mix it up. And then after that, once it gets to that boil, I'm going to reduce it. Probably put the rest of the meat in and let it simmer till it reduces, till it absorbs all the water. So now that the chicken is cooked, I'm going to cook the kielbasa and get that nice and charred or cooked or browned or however you want to do it, as I'm mixing the rice and the vegetables. And once this comes out, this should be really good. So I got the vegetables and the rice simmering in a low heat. I got the kielbasa cooking, and I cut up the chicken. Now that I cut up the chicken, I'm going to put it into the jambalaya. Take that off. Mix this around some more. Make sure the water starts to dissolve a little bit, which it is. And I just add the chicken to it. Now once the kielbasa is done, I'm going to do that. Just basically the same thing. I'm not sure if I'm going to use the sausage yet. Depends on how long the kielbasa takes. But right now it's looking pretty good. Mix up the kielbasa a little bit. Usually don't use a sauce or anything with the kielbasa, but today I did. So have that all go in. Once this goes in, mix it up around a little bit, and then cover it again. Yeah, now all you're trying to do is get the juices to absorb and the rice to come out. This way it starts to make a nice dish. Close that up for a minute and just wait for the kielbasa to cook. So what I decided to do to speed up the efforts is I decided to cook the sausage in a different pan. So basically what I'm going to do is take some butter to just grease the bottom of the pan a little bit. Make sure that's nice and covered. And then I'm going to put the sausage in there, let them cook and brown for a little bit before I put them into the jambalaya. The kielbasa is still going. It's pretty much cooked right now. Just trying to get like a little more flavor into it. That's enough butter for that. And now you just put the sausage in there. Like I said, you're just trying to get them, cooked a little bit, browned on the outside, before you cut them up and put them in the jambalaya. So we'll do that while we wait for everything else, and once the next step is, we'll put everything into the jambalaya mix. The kielbasa is pretty much cooked through, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to add that to the jambalaya. Now again, when I say jambalaya, it's really, I have no idea what it is. It's just a mixture of a lot of different foods, and that's why I call it jambalaya. It's not the traditional jambalaya, but it's my jambalaya. So, put the kielbasa in. Once I do that, I take this pan away, cook the sausages on this closer pan. This way it frees up some space. Put all those in there. Once these are in there, then you can mix it up and then cover it back up again. Get this all here. As you can see, start to see the rice. You can start to see the absorption of the liquid. It's a good thing I used the big pot. And you could hear the sausage starting to crisp up. So once we start cutting the sausage, then we'll put it all in there and probably cook it for another 10 to 15 minutes. So now that the sausage is pretty much cooked through, what I'm going to do is take them out, cut them up into little chunks, and then put them into the jambalaya or whatever you want to call it. I'm only going to just put it in for a little bit of time because as I said, these are pretty much cooked already, and I'm just waiting for the liquid to absorb in the jambalaya, and once that's done, we'll have a nice meal, hopefully. So I cut the sausages up and they were a little red on the inside, so once I cut them up, I put them back into the pan just to get them a nice brown color, make sure they're all cooked. And then I'm going to throw them right into the nice jambalaya. Get this all nice and done. Make sure nobody eats raw food. And just a couple minutes. Nothing long. Now that they're basically done, because they're still going to cook in the jambalaya for a little bit. So now that's done, turn off the heat. Put them in there, and then wait for the water to absorb. So now that the sauces are in there, you mix it up. You see there's still a little bit of water, but it's mostly absorbed. I'm going to cover it for another 5 to 10 minutes. That's a large pot and a lot of food in here. So get that all absorbed, and then once that's done, plate it up and see how it tastes. So this is cooked about as much as it's going to be cooked without it being overcooked. So I'm going to take the little spoon out or bowl out, taste it, see how it tastes, and see if this is going to go on live with Chef Heff, or see if this is going to be one of those locked in the vault type videos, which would be the first one that I have. Probably of many of them. So turn this off. Get a little bit of everything. Put that into a bowl. Let that cool off for a bit, and then test it out. So, after the first taste, I must say this is actually pretty good. You might need a little bit more salt. That's just based on how you season it. Maybe put a little more in the pot as you're cooking the rice, but all in all, it's pretty good. You could eat it like this in a bowl, or even in a wrap, maybe with a little cheese on top. It's actually pretty good. So anyway, that's the chicken kielbasa sausage jambalaya with tomatoes, peppers, and onion. Also corn. I used 1 whole pack of organic cherry tomatoes, 3 ears of corn, 1 whole onion, a package of sweet sausage. You could also use spicy sausage. That would probably pick this up nicely. 2 cups of rice, 3 peppers. All in all, it took probably about an hour to cook, which, isn't that bad. There's a lot of prep time and everything else to go with it. But it's pretty good. Hope you enjoy. Hope you like the video. If you do, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and have a good day.